What's going on, YouTubers? Welcome to another episode of SupaRetroGeek, and today this is a part 2 of how to use Android. And one of the things that I didn't really get to show clearly on the very first part of Android was how Android is an operating system that could work on many devices. Okay, so what does that mean in real terms? Well, let me show you. So here I've got a HTC One, the original HTC One. Here I have a Samsung Galaxy Note 3. Okay, and here I have a Moto G 2013. Okay. And then here I have my trusty old Hisense tablet. And although these are all different physical devices and they kind of look a little different, but they all run on Android, which is the operating system. So hopefully that clears things up for people who are not techies and are not familiar with what an operating system is. Okay, so let's get to part 2. And part 2, this is basically going to show you the basics on how to use Android. And I probably won't get into more detailed things because a lot of it's dependent on what you need your device for. And so there's like a bazillion things that you could do on these devices, as most of these are actually considered, you know, computers more than actual phones. And so the first thing I actually want to talk about is what you actually see on your screen whenever you pick up your device. And so what I mean by that is this right here. Or wait, let's go to a bigger screen. Let's go with this Note 3. So here, for most people, the first thing they see whenever they pick up their device is this. This is called the home screen, and that is the main screen that you're on. And so in Android and other operating systems, you could have more than one screen. So whenever you press your home button, well, in Android it depends on what device you have. For most devices, still they'll have a physical key. So you know, here is the home button right here. Okay, and here is the home button right here. Okay, but in some devices they'll have a soft keys, which is not physical. So in this case, you know, if you went this screen, then you press home, it'll go back home. And the same for the tablet. Yeah, this tablet, you know, doesn't have any physical key, so that's home. Okay, so that's typically your main screen. So whenever you get lost, you just press the home button. Okay, now also in Android there are, and I'm going to stick primarily with this Note 3 because I think for the most part the functionality is the same. Okay, so you also have what's called a back button. So right here there's a back button. So if you ever get lost, you just press back, you know. And then there's also a menu key button right there. So that's pretty much the same on all the devices. Now in some Android devices you have like a multitasking button, such as the Motorola Droid, Moto G. So let me see if I open Chrome. Okay, you know, I could just press that and, you know, there's the multitasking key. Whereas on a Samsung device, I'd have to hold down home button and then, you know, let me open up another app. In this case, let's just open up a calculator. So, you know, I'd have to hold down the home button and then there's a multitasking right there. So you could go from different apps really quickly instead of opening up all the time. So that's the multitasking button. And the menu button, it's primarily depends on what application you're in. You get different options, but it's just additional options. That's what the menu button is. So those are the three main areas that you can use: your home button, your back button, and the menu key. Okay, now let's talk about the actual screen itself. This is typically what you see, and so what you see is the screen, and then you see all these apps that are on there. Okay, in this case, apps. Now in Android, there is actually a separate section to get to your apps, whereas in Apple devices, whenever you download a new app, it automatically puts it on the screen. Now for Android devices, there's actually a menu button right there, and here are all your apps, which you could scroll through, and then here are widgets, and we'll talk about widgets a little bit later, but that's where all your apps are stored. Okay, so the most important thing that you should have whenever you are buying an Android device, you need to have a Gmail account. And it's not 100% necessary, but without a Gmail account, you cannot access the Play Store, which allows you to actually download apps. And for the most part, without your apps, you're pretty much relegated to just using your device to surf the internet and, you know, do text messaging and phone calls. And if that's okay with you, that's fine, you know. But the big thing is that people want access to the App Store, so they could get, you know, they could download apps, they could download games and, you know, movies and whatever that they like. So that's why you need a Gmail account, because without that, you can't access any of these other features that Android has. And almost any device will have some type of application store, and they call this the Google Play Store. So here, you know, you have your games, music, apps, newsstand, books, and all in one place. So that's why you need a Gmail account, and if you don't have one, well, it's free to get one. So that is the App Store. And another thing that Android has is what's called notifications. So every now and then, if you get a text message, you get some message up here, and which is your notifications. So whether you get a text message, or there's updates, or there's something that's occurring on your device, it'll show up on that notification screen. And for most manufacturers, they'll add all these shortcuts that are up here, which makes things a little simpler instead of you having to go to settings all the time to make your changes. Okay, so that is, in a nutshell, the main parts of Android. You know, your home screens, your back menu, your menu key button, and the Google Play Store. Now, in terms of organization, if you wanted to add a shortcut, like for example, you use this app a lot, right? But boy, it's a pain for you to have to open up the app tray and then actually open it up. So you could always hold it down, and then you could put it where you want. Well, there's no more room there, but let's put it on the screen where there is room. So we'll put it right there. So it's right there now. And also what you can do, let's add another one right here. Say you like to use certain apps all together, you know, in a group. So what you could do, you could move this over and create what's called a folder. So, you know, so if there's a group of apps that you enjoy using, you could put it all in a folder. Okay, and if for some reason you didn't like it on the screen, you could just hold it down, and then you could remove it. So that's fairly simple. So it's an easy way for you to get to your apps that you use the most. Now finally, I just wanted to talk about widgets. And what are widgets? Well, widgets are these things right here. So right here. So typically, like for example, if you're from an iPhone device, if you need to use an application, normally you would have to open it up all the time. Okay, you would have to press it to open it up. Now in Android, widgets are basically apps that are running all the time. They just happen to be on your screen. Okay, so why would that be important? Well, that would be important so that you don't actually have to click on the app to open it up all the time. You know, it's already here. Such as this case where the time and everything, it's already there. And like this one too. This is let me get rid of this one. Let's get rid of this, and I'll show you how to add a widget. So where would this come in handy? Well, let's go to your widgets, and let's add a music widget. and then you'll see how that could be useful for you. So you just hold it down, put it where you want. We'll put it right here. And so if you had a music on here, you could just access it right here instead of, you know, instead of opening up the app all the time to play it. So that's what widgets are for. They're shortcuts to app that are already open. So like the Google search app, it's already here. You just press it, and then the Google search will come up, but it's already running. So that makes things easier. So that is it for how to use Android Part 2. And like I said, I don't think we're going to be doing any more detailed ones because it really depends on what you use your device for. But everything that I just went through, will get most people through 80% of what they're going to do with their device in terms of how they use it day to day. So that's it for this episode. If you had any comments, please leave them below. And if you like my videos, please subscribe. And we will see you on another episode of Super Retro Geek.